It's May of 2019 and I'm stood behind a wall holding a drill in my hand. I'm sweating through my hard hat and high-vis jacket as the warehouse I'm working in feels like a sauna in the middle of summer. "Lewis?" I hear my boss's voice call out, to which I respond, "Yeah? You need to drill this hole where I'm banging my fist," he says. "Okay," I respond, barely able to hear his voice from the other side of the wall. My boss, who I've been working with for the last 3 months, is a 40-year-old man. Tall, fat, domineering, and the most volatile and insecure person I've ever met in my life. I've been his labourer for what feels like an eternity, but I can't wait to leave the job in 2 weeks and go travelling. So I grab the screw in my hand and try to place it on the wall exactly where he's banging his fist. I found it, I think. So I power the drill and screw it with all of my force into the wall, but 5 seconds later I hear my boss scream at the top of his voice. I can feel the blood drain from my body as I think, not again. And I just want the world to swallow me up. He comes charging round the corner to my side of the wall. "Are you joking?" he says. "Sorry, I just can't seem to place it. Maybe it's better if you do it," I say. "Ridiculous. Why can't you just get it right?" he mutters under his breath as he walks away. Every day for the last 3 months has been like this on this construction site. A huge fruit picking warehouse in the middle of the Kent countryside in England. There's about 70 of us men working here, most of who are unstable and can't stand their own lives, but in terms of workmates, I feel like I've got the worst pick of the bunch. Every day I have to endure the narcissistic self-celebrations from my boss and the tirade of abuse he throws my way. But I'm a 19-year-old impressionable young man, so most of the time I find myself just going along with whatever he says and accept whatever insults he throws my way and pass them off as construction site banter. So after that day's work, I come into work the next day to see he's in a foul mood. We usually take our lunch breaks together, and I would sit in my car on the left of his so I could see whenever he's finished and we could go back upstairs in the warehouse to start working together. But today lunch seems to go on forever. 30 minutes go by, 45 minutes, an hour, and I start thinking we never usually have lunch this long. And I look to his car and think, he's still definitely in there. This is weird. So I decide to find out whether he is actually still in his car, get out of my car, walk round to his and find out he's not in there. Startled and suddenly in a panic, I rush upstairs in the warehouse to find him already working. And I can't help but feel he snuck out of his car on purpose. But as I try to spark up a conversation with him while he's working, he works with rushed aggression and he starts throwing our plumbing materials on the floor while shouting. So I stand there in silence for the next 2 minutes. But then I ask, "Are you okay?" "Yes," he snaps back. So then for the last 3 hours of the working day, he gives me a task I've never done before and doesn't even explain to me how to do it. So I start working on this task, and as I'm nailing these clips to a wall to connect this pipe from the ground, I'm completely confused about how to do it. So he sees I'm stuck and comes over, and instead of actually helping me, he just continues to get angry, as if he's shocked at my inability to suddenly become a plumber with 30 years of experience behind him. But as the days go by and time finally arrives for me to leave this job 2 weeks later, we shake hands and go our separate ways. And the excitement of leaving the job and getting my last paycheck is enough for me to look past all of the torture I endured with him for the last 3 months. So I spend the next year travelling with my girlfriend at the time, having saved up enough money from the job in order to do so. Over the moon to have escaped the construction site and the toxic environment I was working in every day. I'm past that now, I think. Now it's time to enjoy life. So 3 months later, we work and live in Lisbon as bartenders. We work in Bruges in Belgium as hostel workers and explore all the wonders of travelling and novelty. But in late 2019, I started to realise my mental health was in the worst place it's ever been. 3 months on from working the job, I thought I'd be happy every single day from the sheer understanding that I wasn't working there anymore, but I couldn't help but feel angry, guilty and depressed most days. I'm living in Lisbon, I start to think. I've got a great relationship. I've got every experience and lovely weather around me. Why do I feel like with each passing day I'm starting to hate myself more and more? I felt I was tormented by my thoughts, as if they weren't my own, and each thought seemed to say something negative about myself whenever I tried to do something new. "You can't do this, you'll mess this up, you'll never be worthy of." So it wasn't until 2 years later, when our travelling ended and me and my girlfriend at the time moved to Poland, that everything came crumbling down. I was stood in the kitchen of our apartment with my ex-girlfriend in the living room. I'd just picked up the habit of cooking, and I wanted to cook a new steak meal for us. Steak and pesto. Jamie Oliver style. Nice. But as I start cooking, I have no idea of where to begin with the recipe. A simple problem for a new chef. But the negative voice comes back with a vengeance. You always mess things up, the voice says. I drop the bag of salad as I get it out of the fridge. You'll mess this up as well, just watch. I start chopping the vegetables, but they all turn out to be different sizes. You'll never do anything worthwhile, the voice concludes. So I frown, and I can feel the tension rise within me as I'm stood in the kitchen. And my girlfriend comes out and makes an innocent comment about how all of the vegetables are in different shapes, and I snap. So I turn towards her and unleash all of the anger I was feeling inside directed towards myself onto her. Just let me cook, go away, why do you always have to get involved? She looks at me shocked as if to say, where is this coming from? We were just all happy and loving like 5 minutes ago. But it was in that moment, as soon as those words left my mouth and I saw her reaction on her face, that I realised these thoughts aren't my own. I was still carrying the negative comments and attitude from my old boss in my head, and I felt broken. So after that experience, I knew something had to change, because never before had I experienced such negative thoughts. So for the next 2 weeks, I poured all of my energy into articulating my experiences on the construction site and with my old boss as best as I could. The relationship dynamic I had with him, how it affected me, and how I could move past it. And with some tears, anger, and a lot of hard-hitting memories, I articulated everything I needed to, writing for around 3 hours a day for 2 weeks like a man possessed. So as soon as I stopped typing those last words on the computer, I felt exhausted and exhilarated. I felt like I had journeyed into the recesses of my soul and rewired the cogs which spin to program my behaviour and personality. Soon after, the negative voices, bad attitude, guilt and confusion I felt most of the time completely disappeared. And never before have the words, "You're healed when you grasp the moral of the story," ringed so true. Perhaps you've experienced something to a lesser, similar or greater degree. You experienced something a while ago, but you still carry with you the unarticulated and unfleshed out parts of that experience, and it torments you. But each time it arises within your awareness, you push it down with your busyness, addictions and rationalizations. Maybe you went through a breakup, experienced the death of a loved one, suffered abuse, had to grow up too quickly, or were let down by multiple people in your life. But whatever it is that you still carry with you, I'm here to tell you one thing. This thing will continue to torment you until you turn around and face it in all its ugliness. In his book Beyond Order, Jordan Peterson has a rule of life which states, if old memories still upset you, write them down carefully and completely, because it's a psychological truism that anything sufficiently threatening or harmful once encountered can never be forgotten if it has never been understood. First of all, you might not know something is still tormenting you, or perhaps you do know, you just don't want to admit it. After all, it's much easier to busy ourselves in our to-do lists, new relationships and hopes of the future, rather than to explore the recesses of our psyche. And in no way am I suggesting you look for excuses to be traumatized, but what I am saying is if you still think about something negative which happened to you, and when you do it sparks difficult emotions or numbness, you will continue to be tormented by it until you turn and face it and are able to articulate it in an objective and digestible manner, because our brain craves pattern recognition, whereby it links cause and effect. So you need to glean the lessons from your past so you can calm the fear centers in your brain, highlighting you understand what happened and you can use it as wisdom for what to do or what not to do in the future. The two ways of articulating an experience which happened to you are 1, seeing a professional, and 2, journaling. And in the next few minutes I'm going to help you with the latter. Journaling. This is what saved me. After the experience I had in the kitchen, I bought Jordan Peterson's self-authoring program. But even though I would recommend it, because that's paid, I'm going to explain how you can articulate your experience for free. Journaling helps us achieve something called post-traumatic growth, where we not only learn from our experiences, but we get better as a consequence of articulating them. To engage the journaling process, find a quiet space without distractions where you won't be disturbed. Make sure you're in a calm mind frame. If you're feeling anxious, irritable, or sensitive, wait until you feel calmer, otherwise the experience can be triggering. 1. Take some time to reflect. Reflect on how the experience or experiences you want to focus on have impacted your life. Consider how they've changed your perspective or behaviour. Write down your deepest thoughts and feelings. 2. Reflect and write about the event you experienced. Ideally write for around 15 to 20 minutes and do not aim to write well. Write freely in whatever way the words hit the page. Capture them. Don't worry if you get stuck and can't reach the 15-minute mark. Write in whatever doses feel manageable. Note, your writing might span out over a few days. 3. After you reach a point where you want to stop, reflect and read what you've written. As you do so, check in with how you feel, noticing any shifts in mood or experience. Note, what usually happens is after you articulate all that needs articulating, you likely experience low mood and then a positive mood shift a few days later. Lastly, number 4, create a plan for managing distress. Anticipating the experience of difficult emotions, think about how you can best allow yourself to unwind, perhaps a long walk, talking to a friend, or having a relaxing evening. Here are some journal prompts for you to use. What has been my greatest wound? What has been the greatest obstacle in my life? What do I need to say goodbye to? What have I been carrying for far too long? What shame do I carry in my body and soul? What keeps me stuck and unable to move forward? What gift has come with my greatest wound? Learn from the past or repeat its horrors. In imagination, endlessly. Remember, you're healed when you grasp the moral of the story. You got this.